People are still willing to pay up for rare cut autos, especially when they're available in top tier products. Remember during the pandemic boom when people were grading base cards of wrestling or anything else and selling them for a ton of money? We thought all that stuff had ended. Think again. And has the indie card bubble finally burst? Or are there more people just straight up collecting the cards? This is the Wrestling Card Market Watch for December 2023. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. Even though we are into a new year at this point of recording, we're still kind of closing out the end of 2023 with this video, looking at some interesting cards and sales. I hope all of you watching this had a great Christmas, New Year's, and holiday season. But as we kick off a new year, it's time to get back in gear with the hobby. We all love the holidays, but it's time to get down to business, so let's talk about it. Headline sale of the month, 2019 Topps Transcendent 1/1 Cut Auto, Dusty Rhodes, Miss Elizabeth, $3,200. This is a great, rare card, and great autos from two wrestling legends. Although I'm not totally sure on the correlation. If I remember right, it was maybe Macho and Sherry versus Dusty and Sapphire with Liz in their corner. Again, I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am. But again, I kind of wonder why they would put those two specifically on this card together. It may be a case where they just had them and they wanted to put them together, or they didn't want to put them as standalone one-of-ones, so they put them together. But with this card sale, it just proves my point that I've talked about before. Cards such as rare autos, low print runs, or in this case, one-of-ones, the demand for these things and the money for these things, despite what a lot of hobby headlines want to talk to you about the hobby dying and markets being down, all that stuff still there. And sure, the market is down from what it was a few years ago. Absolutely facts. And we've also seen a lot of those base rookie cards and high grades that people wanted. We've seen those go down. We've also seen some autos come crashing down due to Panini putting out so many lackluster autos, specifically the sticker autos, of some of these legends. Maybe they didn't sign a lot for Topps, and now they have all the Panini autos, plus they're doing those in-person autos. So those kind of autos from Topps that were certified pack pulled, those have kind of taken a dive as well. But there are enough die-hard collectors out there that want pieces of wrestling history. Things they can connect with personally, that they can add to that collection or that display in their home. And when those specific things pop up that really hit those heartstrings or those emotions or that nostalgia for people, they are still willing to open the wallets and pay the piper for what they have to have. It may just be that they're not willing to open the wallets for some of that stuff that's a little bit more plentiful that's out there. So quick edit on this one. This sale may actually not have happened. If you go watch Collectawrestlepalooza, Tom's channel on YouTube, he did talk about a few of these Transcendent cards that actually were not full sales, I guess, for some weird bidding. I still think the concept that I talk about with this card does apply though. But hey, speaking of that, and I just mentioned it, remember during the pandemic boom when everybody was grading base cards, whether it was a rookie card or just any card for that matter, and they were selling for a ton of money if you got them in a high grade? Well, surprisingly with our next topic, it's still happening. Surprising sale of the month, $19.99 Topps WCW Hulk Hogan PSA 10, $190 with $6.50 shipping. I actually like seeing stuff like this simply because it's a breath of fresh air, a little bit different than a bunch of Prism Golds and one-of-ones. I love talking about that stuff. I love having it in my collection. But when I see something like this, I'm like, oh, that's different. Or at least it's different than what we get a lot of stuff on social media and hobby headlines shoved down our throats. Maybe it's also just a little bit of that nostalgia that I talked about, I know, a couple years ago, right? How can that be nostalgia? Well, we lived through a very interesting period in the hobby and in life in general during that pandemic era boom. I even remember personally grading this exact Hulk Hogan card through Pure Graded X. Who remembers those guys? If you missed my interview with the owner of that company and you missed my returns that I got from Pure Graded X, you can find that stuff in the archives of this channel. It's kind of fun to go back and check that stuff out. Man, just talking about these old videos and this old WCW 99 card, I'm just getting nostalgic. And that's what cards are all about, right? But anyways, again, there seems to still be demand for high-graded base cards. Even cards that aren't rookie cards, apparently. And I probably sound like a broken record or a sleazy used car salesman, or maybe a vacuum cleaner salesman from like 40 years ago. I don't know. But I mention all the time that I'm continually selling these type of cards in my eBay store. Quick plug for that, link in the show notes. But I'm still convinced, and I think I mentioned this like once a video, that base cards still matter to certain people. Maybe it's set collectors. Maybe it's the people that just want to own cards for the sake of owning cards. To collect. Hey, but let's look at this from another angle as well. Speaking of sets, I'm wondering if the person that bought this set, again, because it's a PSA 10, I wonder if they bought this because maybe they're working on a PSA set registry. Could you imagine having all of these 1999 Topps WCW cards in a PSA set? Wow, that's a lot of slabs. Or maybe the person that bought this had some kind of personal connection with the image, that moment on Nitro that Hogan did this pose with that chair. Or maybe it's something to do with the year that those cards came out and their impact of wrestling to them. Or maybe it was something with the set in general. Maybe this 1999 Topps stuff was the first stuff that they ever opened as a child or when they got into the hobby as an adult. And maybe this Hogan card is one of the first ones they pulled. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing some ideas about how people and why people still pay money for cards that are considered junk by a lot of breakers and by a lot of other people within the hobby. No matter how you slice it, the demand is still there. Not to mention, it is, in my opinion, the best and most affordable way just to get people into the hobby. If you have a friend that likes wrestling and they aren't into wrestling cards yet, maybe put together like a personal pack for them of some singles of just base cards of wrestlers you know they like. These are not junk. I'm not saying just give away cards, but hey, give away cards if it's something that gets a new wrestling fan, a child, somebody that is just into the hobby. Hand them some wrestling cards for free, and you never know what just that curated pack of base cards that you could put from them that you just have laying around of stuff that's not part of your PC. You never know what that could do for a collector's journey going forward as they continue to grow in life. If you're enjoying this video so far, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and make sure to share this video and this channel with anybody in the hobby, a collector, a wrestling fan, it doesn't matter. Just let them know, hey, do you like wrestling? Do you like wrestling cards? Check out the Wrestling with Cards YouTube channel. But now with the second half of this video, we're going to talk indie cards.
That was stupid. It ain't gonna draw a dime.
Totally awesome sale of the month 2022 Pro Wrestling Junkie 2-card lot FE, both of them numbered to 100. $79.99 shipping. I'm definitely a fan of this for a few different reasons. Let's start with Effie. I've got to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of his character or his in-ring work, but yet, somehow, anytime this guy is on GCW, and anytime he's involved with a feud that's kind of spanning over a few different events, I can specifically remember like Jeff Jarrett and more recently Mance Warner. And I guess I should say storyline in air quotes because we all know GCW doesn't have a lot of that, but when they do, like this stuff with Effie that I'm talking about, or like Cardona and Gage, or there's a lot of other like a little bit longer storylines that have come out of that, they've been great. But again, anytime Effie is involved with any of these a little bit longer storylines, I'm definitely intrigued and tuning in. But now let's take a second to look at the cards themselves. I know you're out there and you're saying, oh, this is just a custom card somebody made in their basement. Just because it's not Topps, it's not Panini, they're not real cards. But let's take a step back and look at this. First off, I think it's a cool design from Bo J and Pro Wrestling Junkie. They have a pretty good track record of putting out some great looking auto cards. Not to mention, this is another avenue for people to get wrestling cards. People out there complaining, I want more product, where's my packs, where's my rips? Yet you've got independent people within the industry out here creating stuff for collectors that in my opinion is a lot better than some stuff you get in packs for a lot better price. Go support them, support people within the wrestling community. Back to the card, the auto is pretty solid. You've got this card and the base card numbered to 100 with the first part of the number being hand numbered. And really $79.99 for two of these cards put together, that's nothing to sneeze at from a sales perspective. In fact, I've seen and personally sold some lower numbered parallels of some bigger named stars in those official products that everybody wants, and they go for a fraction of the price that this did. So I think it's safe to say that just like base cards that I had mentioned before in this video, and just like the super high-end stuff that I also mentioned at the top of this video, when the cards are out there and they're available for the fans of wrestling and specific wrestlers or promotions to buy, it creates a collector demand and people are going to pay the piper to get what they need for their PC. But that being said, let's turn the tables a little bit and talk about a different side of indie collecting. We've often heard indie cards are rare, scarce, hard to find, condition sensitive, all of these things. And while I just gave you an example of how all of that stuff may be true with these Effie cards, let's look at an example that maybe isn't the case. Or is it? Questionable sale of the month indie card sets. So from day one since I've seen these sets put out, I've always been a supporter and fan of them. I've never personally been one of these people that says, oh, indie cards, they're not that rare, they're not scarce. They're not official rookie cards, bro. None of that stuff. I have said before that I think sometimes the indie card community, which is like the niche within the niche of wrestling cards, I think sometimes they can be a vocal minority when it comes to the hobby and how people are viewing these cards, but that's not to take anything away from the cards themselves as being collectible wrestling cards. They're legit cards, people want them. But again, going back to that rare and scarce thing, I feel like we've just been beaten over the head. Kind of like with Prism even, like Prism Gold, the gold standard of the hobby, right? Well, we've also been told indie card sets, they're rare, they're scarce, they're valuable. They have the first true rookie cards, air quotes, of these indie talents that are now in WWE or AEW or TNA. But when I look at these two sales specifically that we're going to talk about today, I have questions. 2017 PWG Bola sealed set, $249.99 Canadian. However, a best offer of 200 Canadian, which is about $148.19 USD, was accepted. And then we have the 2019 Gemlinum Tournament sealed set, $189.99 with $6.75 shipping. Now, both of these box sets do contain early or first appearance cards of some big names in wrestling. And in my opinion, the designs and the photography, okay, not bad. But again, my question comes from the value driven from the hype on these things. And again, I've said this on previous videos, I'm not the indie card expert, so maybe these sets aren't as valuable as some of the other indie sets out there. That could be the case. Not to mention, if you look at these from an initial cost perspective, I guarantee you they were not selling for even a fraction of these originally when they were bought from high spots or bought from the events themselves or wherever they came from. Easily 10x the money on these sales here. And maybe it's just me personally that's throwing that question out there about why are these prices not matching the hype? And maybe they are matching the hype for the current market conditions. I don't know. But when I see certain things or certain segments of specific parts of the hobby and they're getting that 2022 WWE Prism hype, I just have to wonder. Overall, has the indie card segment of wrestling cards kind of died down a little bit recently? Have there been more of these sets come out that then push the print run up past what it was originally told? I know that there's been some indie cards put out there where the print runs weren't what they said they were. Is the buyer pool and collector pool just not what it used to be for these things? I could be totally wrong on all this. I could be partially wrong, partially right. I don't know, but I would love to hear your comments. And what do you think about these indie card sets, why they're not selling for way higher? Maybe I have unrealistic expectations, but hey, when I see these things hyped up, I'm expecting bigger sales. But I want to hear what your thoughts are on that or any other cards or situations or talking points that I brought up in today's video. I'm back with another impromptu edit. I did talk to Collecting with Caleb recently when I got to meet up with him in person to buy a lot of that stuff. Massive collection I bought from him. But anyway, he mentioned that maybe indie cards are such a niche thing that the people who are really into them right now and who currently have them, like they have what they want and they're not really going out and buying anymore. And there's maybe not a lot of collectors at this moment coming back into indie cards or getting into them. So maybe that's why the prices have gone down or the demand just isn't there as much. But I wanted to throw that tidbit in there as well. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And when you're done leaving a comment, make sure to check out all the links in the show notes below as well for all the other ways that you can help show your support for me putting out content about wrestling cards. If today's video brought you some value, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, tell a friend, share it with another hobby member or somebody else in the wrestling community. And until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content. I'll see you there.